Welcome back to our Week 1 matchup. This is, of course, the Vanquish Gaming 2v2 Season 2. I am Spectre, and I'm casting hopefully a very exciting Game 2 between Team Haterade and Team Flawless. We are here on, what needs to be a win for Team Haterade, as they got a little crushed in Game 1, and you see a little bit of love going out here, trying to raise Ari's spirits here. Ari, of course, a little down on himself, a little bit of words exchanged last game, probably not seriously, but Ari just dealing with a lot of internal hate right now as he's attempting to shed off this rust from how busy he had been this last year. Definitely his lowest year as far as StarCraft was concerned, just trying to find the time. But we appreciate him sticking it out here with Diener. He definitely picked himself a soulmate and a partner. Diener also coming off a very busy year, making his return, his first official return to competition in this season, and it should be a pretty exciting season. Watching these two kind of just, I kind of see them like caterpillars, just kind of wrapping themselves in cocoons, and you just don't know what kind of butterflies coming out, But that's what they should have been. They should have been Team Butterfly, because that's really what this is about for them. It's a rebirth for Ari and for Diener, as these guys are just shaking off this rust and saying, hey, we're competitors, all right, we can do this, and they've picked one hell of a starting point, because Mord and Kid, being a top-rated team, definitely top of their game. Both of these guys have been competing very much in the off-season, and Team Flawless, of course, looking to usurp the infamous legendary dude from Brazil, who along with Cello went undefeated in Season 1. They have not returned for Season 2. They are on a hiatus, but of course their shadow is always available for people to try and compete against, and that's basically what Team Flawless is all about. They are here to bring light into that shadow and to replace Dude from Brazil as what will hopefully be a legendary team. And here we go. We see Ari pulling out his best strategy from 2011 and going with a 6. Well, I don't even know if this counts as a 6 pool. It's like a late 6 pool, but either way, he's 6 pooling. I mean, it's an unconventional 6 pool, and it's being somewhat effective here against Mord. Mord, of course, has fought off many 6 pools, and will most likely be able to repel this, although he does seem to be taking his awfully sweet time in doing it. And he's picking off these Zerglings one at a time. Meanwhile, his income is pretty abysmal. So this is at least having the success in slowing down Mord, who did go for a fast expand. Probably regretting that move now, as he's probably getting very annoyed with all this. And Kid, of course, was walled off, so he was able to protect himself. He does have 2 Marines rolling out, left this door down that may come back to haunt him, although it does not look like Ari has any kind of reinforcements on the way. And these 3 Lings hanging out there, and they're on the verge of death, but Mord has not really been able to fight them off. And there we go, 2 Marines and a handful of Lings, finally sending those Lings home. A very annoyed Mord, probably just taking his sweet time there. We'll have to see if that is any kind of a signal of what's to come here. It was definitely a momentum changer from Ari, even if it was pretty terribly late 6 pool. But it still caught off Mord, and you have to wonder what else can Ari dig up from 2011 that will catch Mord off guard. So we do now see a Roach Warren coming down, as well as double gas on 12 workers. And we do see a nicely saturated Diener over here going for a second gas as well. You see a natural expansion coming down, and a handful of Zealots just hanging out here, playing cards in the middle, holding the line. Meanwhile, back over here on Kid's base, you do see some nice mining going down here and picking off this Overlord. He's going to have to run around the long way, and Ari, of course, going to be as annoying as possible to try and just keep this Overlord alive, keep an eye on things. He's actually doing a really nice job scouting. Ari has not lost his touch with the scouting. He's definitely doing an excellent job being annoying as well, something that if you ever talk to him in Mumble, he is equally good at. And we do now see Kid taking advantage of this long road here and being, and he pulled back for some reason. It felt like he could have probably taken that out. Do see another Overlord coming to join the party. And we do see some spines and spores coming down for Mord as he tries to fortify that expansion. Go ahead and take a look at the income. We see Mord has bounced back. He is now actually in the lead. He is definitely macroing up quite nicely, and he did a good job keeping at least most of his workers alive. Meanwhile, we do see Diener has now placed down an expansion as well. We do see Warp Gate under research for Diener, and we do see Metabolic Boost coming out for Mord. We don't see too many units being built now. I see a Stalker and a couple of drones, but not really any kind of combat units. We do see 2 Hellions on the way, and they will not make it very far. They will be able to poke in on these Zealots a little bit. He needs to pull them back and just kind of push up with those Stalkers. He's giving away some intel by doing that. But definitely see a nice little army forming here, as well as a few roaches here for Ari now. And needs to get this a little bit more saturated. He's taking his sweet time with that expansion, but that 6 pull probably set him back just a little bit. And that's about it. Looks pretty calm. Looks like Mord going for an easy third here. No pressure coming from Team Haterade. Team Flawless just kind of macroing up, playing it careful, playing it steady. And we do see this expansion is now fully materialized for Diener. We'll have to see if he's going to macro up as well. Looks like he's going that route. And we do see some Phoenixes coming out. Phoenix is, of course, a very annoying unit when well played. Diener, fairly new to Protoss, if I remember correctly. I believe he was more of a Terran player in his heyday. So we'll have to see what he can pull off with some Phoenix play. And we'll have to see how Ari plans to back him up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the production tab. We do see some upgrades coming in for Kid, as well as some fast roaches coming up for Ari. And nice army here for Mord. Nice Ling. It looks like a handful of... no, it looks like all Lings. So this Ling army definitely looks like it wants to harass something, but no motion on it yet. There it goes. Now it's moving out. And we do also see a Widow Mine cleverly placed here in the middle. Will provide some good vision. And a little one-on-one here between Ari and Mord, already winning, of course. And they will poke at this front. They may be able to do a run-by. It looks like they will not. It looks like they will actually attempt to take out some of these units. Looks like they will take out at least a good portion of roaches. And it looks like some of these Stalkers now as well are going down. Now Ari bringing in some of his own fastlings to chase away Mord. Mordslings, of course, having trouble because those wings keep making them trip. I do see now quite a few mines coming out here for defense. And some siege tanks as well. Looks like they have this very heavily fortified here. We do see these Lings kind of running up on this Zelnaga, poking in there. It does not look like they are aware of this expansion.
Our allies are being attacked.
They are aware of it, but they have not done anything to it yet. It looks like they will now poke at it, kind of force Mord to cancel this and pull back. And we do also see some Phoenixes flying in over onto Mord's base. Team Haterade going on the offense. A little bit of harassment of their own, keeping them on point. They are not aware of this expansion, however, so it looks like Kid going for his own third, somewhat of a, not really a ninja, but definitely far away from his base. And we do see these Phoenixes kind of just uncontested here. Mord has got to be very annoyed right now. There is no way that he is enjoying all this harassment on him. And we do see now a nice push coming up here. Unfortunately, these tanks are going to make him regret that. And wow, look at those Stalkers just getting torn to shreds. Unbelievable. These Phoenixes, though, are going to pull up that tank. Unfortunately, this missile turret here is going to make them have to disengage and fly back. He does not want to lose those Phoenixes if he doesn't have to. But some great harassment here. Expansion, denial, and taking out quite a bit of, at least a little bit of supply here from Mord. And these Phoenixes, 3 of them still alive here. Of course, Kid, the only one with any kind of success on Team Flawless with an expansion so far outside of the naturals. And he's going to go ahead and start mining that. And we do see now some expansion checks here from Ari, expecting Kid to expand over here, but he has surprised him. It's only a matter of time, though, before he finds this. And we do see quite a few Phoenixes out now, and they will... Oh, it looks like they just barely missed this expansion. They're just literally like 1 cube away from finding it. But he stopped short, and there we go. Now he's found it. We see Ari pulling in with a few Lings, and they're going to go ahead and pick up these mules, take them out. and they're going to force Kid to do something. He is sending in these Hellions to try and fight off these Lings. Unfortunately, though, and he airlifts this command center. Not a good move there, as these Phoenixes are now going to go to town on it. And that is a slow, long flight. Definitely not a good move on his part. Should have left it on the ground. At least these Phoenixes couldn't have attacked it. You have to wonder if he mismicroed that. And now the only thing that can save it is some mules. But these Phoenixes, and they leave the mule there unattended. But it looks like Kid is also unattended, as he has not moved it into heal. And it looks like he is finally pulling in with a few things here, but it's none of this really shooting at the air. It's out of 2 Marines, and it is a battle to keep this alive. And the orbital command is slowly just burning down. There doesn't seem to be much he can do about it. Mort, of course, taking advantage of all this chaos and expanding. And it looks like did he save it? No, he does not save it. The orbital command, after all that back and forth, so well played on both sides, but he finally loses it. Diener in victory, flying back to his base. He did exactly what he needed to do. We do see now Ari going for a somewhat late third, but he is going for a gold at least. He was able to deny Mord, but Mord is already ahead of him, building a replacement base down. We do see some roaches rolling out as well. They are not Mord roaches, which is ironic because he built them, and they are roaming around as well. We do see these siege tanks kind of holding off this Ling attack. But I have to say, Team Haterade, very impressed with this harassment. They are keeping up the tempo. They are forcing Team Flawless to stay on their side of the map. They are not letting themselves be harassed. They are not fully taking advantage of the expansion speed. I feel like they could be expanding a lot more here. And take a look at income. You see Ari still falling a little bit behind everybody else, but he is doing an excellent job with the attacks. And these Lings too indecisive, and they let these roaches get too many free shots on them. Do see now some zealots coming in here to help out, and they can easily pick away. If Ari can just trap these roaches in, he can probably try to take them out. It looks like they did get Burrow, though, and Tunneling Claws, so they can finally... do they have Burrow? Yeah, they do have Burrow. So those Tunneling Claws definitely going to come in handy if he needs to burrow and escape. Meanwhile, this base finally getting up and running. You see some Thors on the field as well. Definitely going to help with those Phoenix harassments. And we do also see a replacement command center finally being built for Kid as well. So this has been a pretty effective harassment game from Haterade. And very surprising. We do see some mutas out as well. And it kind of makes you wonder what Diener is doing with all this money. And oh my gosh, there's the answer. So all this harassment, all this misdirection has allowed Diener to basically go Skytoss. And Diener now has some carriers more underway, lots more underway, as well as several Void Rays and Phoenixes. And now we also do have quite a few Mutalisks from Ari. So this is starting to look like a pretty scary air army here. Unfortunately, it looks like they are going to try to take out Kid's replacement command center, and they may find themselves engaging quite a bit of Vikings here. So these Phoenixes, of course, getting quite a good answer here. And if they're able to pull all these Mutalisks, then they should be able to take out all these Vikings before these carriers can be engaged. And it looks like the carriers and Void Rays are just going to go to town on everything here. And it looks like this Air Force has really wiped out everything that they had. Do see some Infestors now. They're going to be hopeful and try to hold them in, but that projectile just a little too behind the target. They did trap the Phoenixes a little bit, but there are no Hydralisks here or Marines to deal with it. So everything is just kind of being eviscerated. Do see a few more Vikings on the field here, and we'll try to take down one of those Void Rays. Looks like some of these Phoenixes as well are starting to get pretty low on health, but there's just not enough units here. These Mutalisks, of course, able to just pick away at everything and heal so fast out of combat now. And you just see them tearing everything to shreds. These two carriers, there is no answer for them, as they are just tearing everything apart. And they have really caught them off guard with all this harassment. You see Team Flawless just not building a good composition here. These siege tanks just not really needed anymore, as there's not really much of a ground army to attack, and you still see them rolling out. So it's just complete disarray on Team Flawless. Just right now, Mord and Kid are just besides themselves, trying to figure out what the hell went wrong, trying to get a handle on this. If they do not control this soon, this can get out of control to the point where they could start losing all their expansions, or at least all these expansions outside of the naturals. We see a little bit of hesitancy on the part of Team Haterade in pushing in on Mord's main here, and not, no blame there. Mord is definitely not somebody you want to underestimate. We do have some more carriers, though, coming out now. You see them starting to load up on interceptors. When those carriers come into play, it's going to be a very different game here. We also see, looks like we do see some corruptors coming out for Mord as well. That's also going to help, very much needed. We've got 6 corruptors coming out for him. Not too much coming on from Ari here. It looks like he's still trying to get this third base up and running very, very slowly. And these Mutalisks, of course, doing their job. It looks like they will revisit this base and finish taking out. Nope, they have changed their mind and flown back. Meanwhile, we do see a little bit of activity over here as Mord has sent some roaches in the hopes of just distracting Team Haterade, getting them to back off just a little bit. And it looks like they've cleaned out most of the remaining attack force. And we do see now some Thors, some Mines, as well as some Vikings coming out, all anti-air units. It looks like Kid has transitioned into something that will be able to fight this army, especially these Mutalisks. So it's really going to be up to Diener. Diener does have some Zealots now on the ground, as well as some more carriers. I don't know where the hell he's hiding them, but they are. Oh, there they are, guarding his expansion. This is going to be very interesting. It looks like all these interceptors coming out, taking out quite a few of these mines. The mines shooting the interceptors and preserving at least some of these carriers. Carriers, of course, still have quite a few interceptors out here, but without any detection, it's going to be very hard to get these mines, and these mines are going to reload and just keep firing. And Diener very smartly pulling those back. You also see this ground army engaging as well, trying to do a little bit double attacking here. And we do see Ari now pulling back as well. He does have quite a bit of corruptors and roaches to boot. And meanwhile, we do see Ari finally getting this fully saturated here, just as his main is starting to whittle down, and a hive on the way for him too. And this is turning into a very, very interesting game. We saw a lot of back and forth, but this harassment from Team Haterade has really suspended any kind of macro game from Mord, as well as Kid. You see Kid attempting once again to expand his base. Now the third attempt for each of them to expand to this gold and this side base here. And it's just been a really, really hard time. And you see Mord sending in 2 infestors, unfortunately very low on energy, not really going to be able to do much. These spine crawlers almost up and running, and enough Protoss forces here to kind of fight them off. Do see some, oh, it looks like Ari taking the bait on that and that poke, and he's pulling his army back in that direction in fear of a larger attack force. And it looks like Diener has convinced him to follow suit. Diener now with a very scary amount of carriers here, but no detection. These mines just laying waste to this base. They're going to continue attacking everything in sight, killing off all these workers. And finally some detection in place, and those interceptors cleared out. Now, that means that Team Flawless has seen this army of carriers. You have to wonder what that response is going to be. They apparently feel very solid with this attack force here. And I'm not as convinced, because unfortunately there is quite a bit of carriers, and these interceptors are going to shred everything like butter. Meanwhile, on the Mord side, we do see some corruptors, but they have shown up a little too late to the party. And unfortunately, I don't think there's enough of them, because Ari also does have his own set of corruptors here. And Kid going for some very aggressive expansions here in the midst of basically a huge wipe coming. And these siege tanks, again, very questionable decision there from Kid. Limited use right now, considering that it's pretty much a Sky Toss army and only a little bit of Zerg. I mean, you always have to keep the Zerg ground in check, but at this point, when you're low on resources, or at least limited on resources, and desperately trying to expand, you can't really waste resources on siege tanks like that. But you know, he just wanted to make sure that they didn't get caught off guard with a tech transition into ground from the Zerg. And, you know, you can kind of understand that. Kid, of course, trying to desperately get these expansions up and running. Meanwhile, Mord's main is basically becoming a stomping ground as Diener's carriers just roll through. You have to wonder what kind of discussion's going on right now for Team Flawless, as they did not see this as the start of their season. Getting pushed around in this second game, especially after the game that we saw from Team Sean Paul, probably one of their biggest competitors. They definitely did not want to have a questionable showing like this, and this potentially could even the series here. And it's starting to look more and more, as Ari pulls in all these corruptors, it's starting to look really tough for them to be able to do much. We do see a handful of Lings here picking on Diener's expansion, which is a danger because Diener is pretty low on resources, but at this point, there's not really an answer for this army. These carriers are just running through. You know, thank God Blizzard kept them in the game because, you know, who said they're useless, right? I mean, here they are just wreaking havoc on everything. I honestly don't know what to say. It looks like Mord is pretty much out of this game. These mines desperately trying to take out. Unfortunately, the mines, you can't really pick what the Widow Mine's going to shoot at. And with so many interceptors in the air, it's most likely going to go to interceptors. And at this point, with this many carriers, he can rebuild interceptors pretty quickly. You see some Lings rolling in as well. And it looks like it's going to be open season pretty soon on Kid's base. And these Lings, of course, getting a little distracted over here. And there we go. Interceptors just running rampant, shredding everything in sight, taking out all these workers, all these buildings. This is pretty much it. I don't see any answer in sight for these guys. And I think it's just the shock setting in as Team Flawless are about to be handed their first loss of the season. And keep in mind, this is a best-of-3 series, so this really ties the series up. Forces a Game 3, and there's the GG concession from Mord, and wow, what an amazing showing there from Team Haterade, really bouncing back from that first game, showing what they're capable of. That harassment game, you can tell, took Team Flawless by surprise. They were not expecting such aggressive harassment early in the game. It really delayed them off their expansions, and they just did not seem to have a backup plan from expanding. It seemed like they did not have a 2-base build that they could really viably deploy, and they were just very insistent on trying to get those expansions, and Team Haterade did a great job capitalizing on that stubbornness, and they really just took them by surprise with this sky toss, especially so many carriers. You don't expect to see something like that, but there it is, carriers in action, and an amazing showing from Team Haterade, tying this up 1-1. That means we are going to Game 3, and we will have to see who's going to take the first victory in Week 1 between these two teams.